Hello, Internet. It is I, Malik Aaron, and welcome back to Box Office Predictions. Today we're going to be talking about MaXXXine. So, as usual, we're going to be going over the pros and cons. So, let's get to it. Pros. So, MaXXXine. This is the third movie of the X trilogy. It's a very weird trilogy, to say the least, but started 2 years ago in 2022 with a movie that was just called X. It was just a slasher flick. And then, literally the same year, 6 months later, we have Pearl, which was a prequel, an extraordinary origin story, as the poster says. And then now we have MaXXXine with three X's, because, third movie in the trilogy and all that. And this trilogy is so strange because if you look at these movies, like, you just look at the posters for them, you would never guess they were all part of the same series because they look very different from one another. They all share one person, Mia Goth. She's the main character in pretty much like all three of these movies. And the first two movies of this series, X and Pearl, they may not have hit the big time like box office wise. They were never like big players, but it helps that they were like super duper duper cheap, and they have a pretty good reputation, a very strong reputation in like the horror space. And so having two predecessors that were received well, I would say that is definitely a pro. So that's pro number one. Pro number two, reviews for this movie are good, pretty darn good. 74% critic score, 83% audience score. A cinema score, I believe, was a B last I checked, like literally a minute ago. Yes, a B, which is above average for its genre. So word of mouth is definitely not a problem here. So solid word of mouth across the board. That's a pro. Another pro is that this movie, has a big old advantage over its predecessors because this is a summer movie. It's opening like post 4th of July. Like, that is pretty ambitious for a movie like this to open like right in like the heat of like summer, right? Right in like what's ideally should be like the hottest point of the summer box office, like 4th of July. So releasing like around that time, like that is a choice that A24 made, and it seems like from the early numbers I've seen, it seems like it was a good choice. And plus, a July release date is a lot bigger than say like a mid March release date or a September release date. So this movie is much more has a much higher profile as a result because of its release date. So strong release date. I would label that as a pro. I mean, yes, sure, there's Despicable Me 4, but obviously this and Despicable Me 4 do not share the same audience. So, yeah, that's so. Yeah, release date's a pro. Another pro I can think of, competition wise, yes, there's Quiet Place Day One, but that's really it when it comes to direct competition. I don't think there's any like horror movies coming out until, God, struggling to remember. It was either Trap or Alien Romulus, one of the two. I think it's more Alien Romulus. Um, but yeah, it'll be a minute before we see another horror movie out there. So yeah, I'm gonna label that as a pro. And I think that's really it. Like, oh, A24. How can I forget? So A24, I've talked about them like many, many, many times because they're like the little distributor that could. And unlike some distributors like a Bleecker Streak or like a something like them, A24 movies are actually watched by a decent amount of people. Like, I mean, look at some of their movies. You got Everything Everywhere All at Once. Civil War earlier this year. That movie, they went all in on that one. They had a big old wide release and everything, and it worked out in the end. So Civil War, Uncut Gems, Lady Bird, Hereditary, Talk to Me, Iron Claw, Moonlight, Ex Machina, Midsommar. A lot of these movies have done very well for themselves. And as a result, like A24 has kind of become like this cool distributor, not like the other like mainstream like distributors like a Disney or a Universal or Paramount or Sony. Not like them. So A24 definitely has like a cool factor they got going for them. So yeah, so A24 gotta label them as a pro. All right, cons. I don't really know any serious cons. I mean, I guess I could say, oh well, the first two movies weren't like big hits, so like how much bigger can this really be? I mean, I guess I could say that, but from like early numbers I've seen, this movie's gonna do quite a bit better than the first two movies. But I don't know. I really don't. Really can't think of any like serious cons, like anything that'll really like hurt this movie. Really, I guess you could say the holidays, the box office can get real wonky around this time, especially when like Fourth of July is like, well, actually, when it's on a weekend, the box office can get real chaotic. But it wasn't on a weekend; it was on a Thursday, so I don't know. I can't think of any cons. So I guess no cons, no serious cons at least, because I can't really find any. So opening weekend, from the numbers I've seen, it's projected to open with almost 10 million, which would be quite a lot for A24 standards, and it would crush X and Pearl. So I guess I'm gonna go with that. Not 8 to 10 million. I'm gonna go with that 8 to 10 million opening weekend, and its total, its legs should be okay. So maybe like 20, 30 million, I think, is achievable. So yeah, 20 to 30 million. I'm gonna go with that. I wouldn't be surprised if it was like on like the higher end of that scale. But yeah, so that was MaXXXine. Now we got one more movie to discuss. A movie that came out yesterday, well, 2 days ago, as I'm recording this. Sound of Hope. I'm gonna talk about that one, and then we'll be done for the long, really long, box office week. So yeah, so that's it. That's all. Make sure to subscribe, like this video, leave a comment, turn on notifications, share the whole drill. You want to check out more videos like this? I got playlists on the homepage. All previous prediction videos I made on the channel. You want to watch any of them this year or the past few years, you can go right ahead. There's also the canceled series where I went over all the movies that were supposed to come out but didn't, all 250 episodes. MaXXXine, I did talk about it. I talked about it episode 237. I talked about it alongside the Super Mario Brothers movie 2, whatever that thing is, because it's technically not the sequel, but what else am I gonna call it? Like that and Tarot. And when like the MaXXXine like release date was announced, I thought it was an interesting choice because I was just like, I don't know, like this series. I mean, the first movie was in March, second movie was in September. Now you're going like the summer. Like that's a bold choice, and it seems to be paying off. So, yeah, but that's the only time I really talked about MaXXXine, episode 237. So, if you want to watch that episode or any other episodes I've done, I did with canceled. You want to watch all 250 episodes? You want to binge them all from beginning to now? I highly encourage you to do that. So go do it. There's also box office recaps where I go over the box office results for a particular month. My June recap will be next week, so stay tuned for that. But if you want to watch any of the past recap videos I made on the channel, you can go right ahead. And yeah, that's it. That's all. I am out. Goodbye.